Man, how'd Miss Rachel go harder than all y'all? Y'all chose money over kids getting bombed on. Y'all chose settlement money. And I chose a shirt that doesn't want to cooperate. That was an excerpt from the rapper Bambu off of his latest album, They're Burning the Boats, not to be confused with the sweaty comedy special from Joe Rogan. Now, this album really came out at the tail end of 2025. I completely missed it. It was a viewer recommendation. So again, guys, thank you so much for recommending so many albums, so many artists that pertain to this culture of resistance, because of course this entire wall is comprised of protest music, revolutionary music, and this album, honestly, not to rehash my top 10 albums of 2025 in terms of their political message, but this one would rank relatively high, so there is that. And it would definitely, probably, more than likely have hit somewhere near the top 3, top 2, you know, I don't really know. Anyways, if you want a hip-hop album that really hits on Gaza, that hits on immigration, just the rise of authoritarianism as we know it, just like the rise of my furnace in the background, this is the album for you. Now the title, They're Burning the Boats, actually comes from the Spanish Inquisition, where Cortez, upon invasion, he actually had his men burn the boats so that they couldn't escape. There was no plan B. So their only option was to push forward to actually engage in their conquest. So pretty brutal. He's not the only one to have done that throughout history, but he is the one who popularized the phrase. And on that note, if you like the vibe, definitely like and subscribe. Check out the Patreon if you so choose, I guess. And definitely check out some of our other reviews of other protest music. There's a lot going around. And this album right here is definitely on the higher end. So starting off with track 1, we have the track It's Happening Again. This song basically starts off with Bambu saying you really shouldn't be surprised that these things are happening because again, it's happening again. But also they've been recruiting. They've been going to these college campuses. They had Charlie Kirk, TPUSA. They had the indoctrination process where you could listen to cherry-picked statistics and someone with a lot of charisma and a lot of patience talking with these college-age kids and then getting them to register to vote, because that's ultimately what TPUSA was. It was a mechanism to get people to register to vote for the Republican Party after listening to all of those Republican talking points. And of course, all of this really does predate Charlie Kirk by decades, because they already had this propaganda apparatus that again has been operating for decades, indoctrinating people, closing them off, making them close-minded. So don't be surprised when suddenly you turn on the news one day and then you have masked men just snatching people off the streets like we have right now, because again, it's happening again. The song also goes on to say that the politicians love to say that they're doing this all for the future, but what future exactly are they doing this for? Is it the future where kids have to constantly live in fear of another incident happening at their school? Is it the Gazan children never getting to see their future? Is it the Congolese children never getting to see their future outside of just mining minerals so that people can then later complain about their iPhone storage capacity? The next track, Their Problem Not Mine, is essentially about people who, once they hit a certain status, once they get into a certain position in life, they stop caring, they stop giving a shit because they no longer think that things will affect them. And then he goes on to make several other points about how it's very important to still teach your kids how to defend themselves, that snatching people off the streets is never okay, that starving children is never okay, which I know sounds basic the way I'm putting it now, but what he's really getting at is teach your kids morals, teach your kids self-reliance, and give them the self-confidence so that when they see something that's morally wrong, that they don't just accept it or go along with it, they actually speak out against it, they fight back. And he also mentions several protests that have happened around the globe, such as Nepal and Indonesia. I think you can even add Madagascar. Mexico also had a Gen Z revolt kind of recently, and now we are also seeing this with Iran, though that is a slightly different story. Not necessarily Gen Z rising up, but still. Definitely worthy of note. And there's another good line about how if you really knew what was happening, you would actually be louder than a riot instead of just genocide denying. The next track, Righteous by Design, calls out Kid Rock's poser ass, so +1 for that. And the hook revolves around this concept of not being a slave to money, because if you are a slave to money, it's very easy to sell you a lifestyle that essentially puts you in a box, and that box can be very many things. It could be a prison, it could be a box in your mind, it could be... My fucking furnace is turning on again, god damn it. Would just turn it off, but it's so goddamn cold outside. Because if you are a slave to money, then it would be very easy to sell you a lifestyle where you are locked inside a box that a dollar designed. And that box can mean many things, really. It could be a cubicle, it could be a prison, or it could just be a box of your mind, boxing in your thoughts so that you never think outside the box. No pun intended. And there's also that hilarious line that we started the video off with, talking about Miss Rachel. And for those of you who don't know who Miss Rachel is, she's basically, as I understand it, she is a Mr. Rogers-esque kind of figure, having a TV show primarily for children. And what he means by the line, how did Miss Rachel go harder than all y'all? The reason why he's saying that is because on her show, she brought on kids from Gaza, kids with missing limbs, kids that had been impacted by the war, so that their other fellow children can understand that all kids, all people, have human rights. They deserve the same things that you have, food, water, and a country that's not bombing them. Again, all framed in the framework of a kid's show. VFT Valhalla actually had a really good video on this subject because apparently Miss Rachel was put as one of the top anti-Semites of 2025 because of what she did. Just having kids from Gaza on her show made her an anti-Semite. Not really, but what she's doing is showcasing the horrors of war, specifically as it pertains to children, and they called her an anti-Semite for that. I'll try to link that video from VFT Valhalla in the comments down below, and by comments I mean description. So yeah, that's pretty crazy, but it does lead us to our next track, Burning Manufactured Alive. And this song goes through a number of scenarios, like a doctor that's trying to help the sick, or just kids playing sports, and in each scenario they're more or less just going through their lives as normal until the bombs start falling, and then right before they're actually hit by a bomb, they look up and they can actually read manufactured in the USA, because of course our tax dollars go to countries that then use those weapons of war. I know, shocker. But of course this song hardcore reminds me of the line from Immortal Techniques, The Fourth Branch, where he says, US manufactured missiles and M16s, weapon contracts, and corrupted American dreams. Because the arms industry just be selling death left and right. I actually did a video on the arms industry, really the inception of the arms industry, as it kind of pertained to Battlefield 6. So hey, go check out that video. I'll try to link that down in the description below as well. Anyways, next track we have enought. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Customs Enforcement. So this one starts off, Bambu's talking about a woman who was basically being interrogated because she was providing healthcare to non-documented workers, because of course that's what gets people riled up, are people coming here illegally and getting free stuff, in this case healthcare, you know, to live. So they pull up, they're asking for her contact list so that they can presumably deport those people, but somehow, some way, she actually got away and is on the run for not really a crime, but still. Again, nothing riles people up more than helping those less fortunate than you, and yet don't even bat an eye about the bombs that were dropping on the last two tracks. The song also breaks down the morality of joining ICE and then having to basically live with those decisions the rest of your life. Really, it's a very similar song to a track that was off the new Billy Simons Jr. album, The Gospel of Weapons. That song was titled Grandpa Ice. Again, just exploring the concept of, you know, in 2015, 50, when everyone's looking up at Grandpa, wondering what he was doing during this time, and it turns out he was actually just an ICE agent. How are those kids, how is that family going to look at him? We then have the next track, Blood in the Maybach. So this one starts off with Bambu talking about a comment he received where someone wanted him to make a song about all the Nepo babies, and he simply replies that he's already done that. In fact, he did that when he was 20, he's 40 right now, and really nothing's even changed. So those songs that he made back then are still just as relevant as they are today. And there's also a really good line about how he shows up for jujitsu lessons even though he's really not that good, but that's kind of the point. It's just to show up and just do it. Even if you're not the most proficient, even if you're not the best, it's still worth it to show up, if only for yourself, if nothing else. And the point that he makes throughout the song is that nobody's going to save you. You need to be self-disciplined, you need to be self-sustained, because if you ever are drowning, the people with the golden boats are not going to save you, they're just going to sail on by. So you really need to be ready for anything, because again, the people that have the wealth, the people that have the means, they're not going to do anything when shit hits the fan. Now the next track, Complicit, he says that it's not really a diss, it's more or less just a acknowledgement that we are all complicit in some way to the system, no matter how much we try to detach ourselves from it. And at the same time, he's saying don't turn away because this shit will make you mad enough to fight. So live your life, but ignore the truth at your own peril. Just don't pretend that you're not complicit in some way because that ignorance does not exonerate you. So like simultaneously, don't beat yourself up if you buy something from Amazon. Most of us really don't have the means to just go off grid and live without anything. That again would make us complicit in the system, be it exploitation, be it oligopolies, somehow giving our time, labor, and money to the rich. But at the same time, you can do the best you can. You can boycott as much as you can. Use your voice, vote, do any means of resistance. Join the organizations that are doing the work behind the scenes, not just showing up at the protest, because again, people organized that shit, people worked to make that happen. Get involved in your local government because that's where you can have a lot more impact and it affects you more directly. I'm just kind of rambling here, but anyways, we get to the last track, It's Happening Now. And I mentioned this in my video talking about Venezuela and ICE because it's very important, I think, when looking at the Minnesota shooting. The hook of this track is all about just telling your friends that you love them when you see them because you never know when your last day might arrive. Same thing for your family. Talk to your family more. Tell them that you love them because all of our days are numbered and you never know when that might change. And the outro monologue, I thought, was just really good, just talking about how he doesn't condone violence, but he also doesn't gatekeep as to how the people... He's talking about how he doesn't condone violence, but at the same time, he advocates for people to do what they feel like they must in order to be free, or in order to maintain their freedom, or to fight tyranny. He mentions Star Wars and the Matrix and how people always root for the rebels because the Empire, they are the ones that are greedy, corrupt, committing atrocities. Again, you have this authoritarian empire, and that people will always fight to be free, it's just a matter of how. Okay, the furnace is kicking on again. I don't give a fuck, I'm ending this video. Yeah, my top recommended song from this album would probably be either the first or last song, It's Happening Again or It's Happening Now. I think they are the best songs in terms of how they relate, not just to the culture of resistance, but also to this exact time in which we're living in now. But of course, overall, this album is fantastic. It hits so many different topics from, again, Gaza to authoritarianism to what people need to do to be free, to secure their freedom. Hits on immigration, hardcore. Hits on weapons manufacturing, hardcore. In terms of scoring, again, this is an excellent record, so I'm going to give it a 94%, making this definitely, oh my god, making this definitely one of the best albums of 2025. We will see what 2026 has in store for us. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you like the vibe. Check out the Patreon. Check out my loud as fuck furnace over there. That's what I get for recording in the basement, I guess. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you have heard this album, They're Burning the Boats by Bambu, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. Let me know what you thought of this review, and let me know which album or artist I should review next. Alright guys, thank you again for watching. Take care, stay well, stay safe, and we will see you on the next one. Later.